I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been dumping a lot of random functions into the character control or scripts like the animation progress. It was okay in the beginning when we didn't have much, and these functions on their own, they're simple enough to be manageable, but when you add them all up, when you dump them into a single character control, things get extremely messy. So in this video, I'm going to start organizing all of these random scripts and functions. The subcomponents, for example. All these scripts have a lot in common. They reference character control, and most of the time they're returning values like float or bool, things like the distance between the player or the platforms, or whether the character is grounded or not, things like that. So if I were to create an abstract class called subcomponent, first let me create a folder. RB subcomponents. Let me create a script called subcomponent. The namespace and this is going to be an abstract class that all the subcomponents are going to inherit from. Every subcomponent will have access to character control, and in the beginning we look for character control in one of the parents. Get component in parent, we get the character control. So if we press Ctrl T, go to manual input, we'll start with this. This will inherit from the subcomponent class. This doesn't need to be here, we already have control. So just replace that variable, control. Okay, I think that's everything. And if we look at character control again, the character control doesn't really have to care about the names of the subcomponents. Instead, it could just have a dictionary that holds all the subcomponents. Let me create an enum for this in the subcomponent script. Public enum subcomponent with an S, and none will be there by default, and the first subcomponent is manual input. So character control will just have a dictionary with a bunch of subcomponents in it. Subcomponents dictionary. So for the manual input, we should have an error. We don't need this. The subcomponent class takes care of that. And also, if I look at the manual input again, this doesn't need to have its own update function. Let me call this public void on update. And instead, we'll update everything in character control. Let me see if I already have one. Okay, we only have fixed update here. So update. And we're going to update the manual input. We get it from the dictionary and say update, but this class doesn't have the update function yet. So every subcomponent will have to have a function called onUpdate, and the manual input will override it. Okay. So now the character control doesn't really know anything about the manual input. It's just got a dictionary that has a bunch of subcomponents. Make sure you save all the code. Now we should have some errors because character control doesn't have the manual input anymore. If I click on one of them. Okay, for something like this, we just ask a different question. We look at the dictionary and ask if that dictionary has a key called manual input. which is pretty much the same as asking if manual input is enabled or not. Save, and let's take a look at some of the other errors. And the same thing here. Do we have manual input? Next. Okay, it's the same thing. Contains key called manual input. Okay, just a couple more. This one might be a little tricky. We're getting a bool data. For this, I'm going to go back to character control. And character control is going to have a bunch of functions where we get bool. Delegate, bool, get bool. Basically, this could be any function that returns a bool. And we're also going to have a dictionary that contains all these functions. Let me get another enum for this. Public enum bool data. So character control is going to have a dictionary that holds a bunch of functions, and we can get each of those functions by using the enum called bool data. Get bool dictionary. So if we look at the error again, this could be a simple function. Inside manual input, we're just checking whether the double taps dictionary has move up or move down. So for manual input, I'll create a bunch of functions. Is double tap up. And we also have is double tap down. And we're looking at the dictionary. If that dictionary contains the input key type move up, turn true, else turn false. Same thing with double tap down, except the enum is move down. And we're going to put these two functions into the dictionary that we just created. So that's going to be the first thing that we're going to do when we have the manual input. We get the character control and the dictionary of get bool, and we add those functions. We don't have the enum yet. Bool data, double tap up and double tap down. So that's the key. Double tap up is for the function is double tap up. Same thing with double tap down, just different enum and different functions. Okay. So now when we run these two lines, the dictionary and character control will have those functions. So back in the error, instead of using the manual input script, we ask the same question by getting the dictionary of get bool, and we get the function using the key bool data. So this is for tap up, double tap up. And the same with double tap down, different enum. Make sure all the code is saved, and let me make sure that all the errors are gone. Okay, so we've rewritten a bunch of scripts. The results should be exactly the same. Let me go back to the hierarchy, because I want to start organizing the subcomponents here as well. So for Sophie, we'll have an empty game object called SubComponents. And inside SubComponents, we might have something called manual input. Let me also apply this to the original. Okay, same thing with manual input, which will be here now. Okay, apply to the original. And the manual input that used to be here, we're going to remove it. And again, apply it to all the prefabs. And let me take a look at Ybot Blue. Make sure the changes are applied there as well. Okay, no manual input here. But we have the subcomponents, manual input here. And this one, I'm going to turn off the game object. If I play, okay, we have some error messages. Character control line 205. $259. Okay, we only update if the dictionary has that subcomponent. And let's try again. We have some more. Transition indexer 262. And we forgot to consider the fact that the AI control is not going to have manual input. So if character control does not contain manual input, just return false here. Same thing with double tap down. And I'll try again. Okay, no errors this time. Except the character is not responding. Looks like the manual input is not getting the update at all. Okay, and that's because we forgot to add it to the dictionary. When the game begins, we look at character control in the dictionary of subcomponents, add the manual input to that dictionary. So I think now the manual input should be getting the update. Okay. So it looks like player movement is exactly the same as before. It should be the same. Okay. I don't see any problems so far. Looks exactly the same. Okay. Let me also try attacking the enemy. Looks good. And I also wonder if the AI is going to be the same. Okay, we have an error with the AI. Pathfinding agent, line 39. F12. Manual input is no longer at the same place as character control. We can get it in children, get component in children. That should fix it. Save and let me play again. Okay, looks like the AI is working fine as well. Let me also try putting Sophie on one of the platforms. See if the pathfinding works. Okay, seems fine, or not. I think that's okay. Now there's a lot of stuff to fix in character control, as well as scripts like animation progress. I don't think I can fix everything in a single video. I think that's too much. But if I repeat today's progress over and over again, eventually all that's going to be left for character control is updating the subcomponents and getting some data from them. And I don't even have to do everything at once. I'll just do it one by one whenever I get bored. But any new subcomponent will take the similar form as the manual input. And I think eventually I'm going to have a character control script that is so much cleaner. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.